Honestly, I gotta tell you the truth. There's something which I need to come clean with. I took some loans.
Oh my God.
In numbers, it might be near about $50,000 to $20,000.
Ever seen someone's world turn upside down in seconds? One moment, Jenny thought she knew every skeleton Sumit had in his closet, and then he hits her with the biggest shock yet. Secret loans that could buy a small car, all while they're surrounded by people trying to spit out their own secrets. The air is thick with drama, but now Jenny's breathing it in alone. The second she hears the number, her face freezes. You never think lightning will strike the same marriage twice, but here it is, right on cue. How many betrayals does it take until someone finally walks away for good? It all went down during one of those supposedly healing group therapy sessions that feel more like a firing squad with trust issues. The group barely came down from the last round of emotional dodgeball when Sumit blurts out his confession with the smoothness of a man tripping over his guilt. Jenny sits there, not blinking, eyes not moving, like she's processing a math problem that refuses to solve. Because didn't she already forgive him for sneaking off with 40 grand once? And now there's another hole in the financial boat. This time he's keeping them both afloat using secret loans. Talk about déjà vu, except the stakes keep getting higher every season. Jenny's shock is the kind you feel in your chest. The kind that makes your fingers tingle, like you suddenly realize the ground underneath isn't real. Every person in that circle leans closer without meaning to, maybe hoping they won't be the next target of a truth bomb. You can read a room like this with your eyes shut. All those people silently grateful, they're not Jenny in that moment. Sumit starts to ramble about pressure and duty, his voice going squeaky, like even he knows he's making it worse by the second. Last episode, the tension was sizzling already. Jenny survived yet another sleepless week squeezed up in her in-laws' place, dreaming of a little peace, maybe a door that locks. What did she get instead? More lies hiding in plain sight. At first, living with the family was supposed to save them money. Sumit promised his parents would chip in, help out, support their life together. Reality check. Not only were they not getting a dime, turns out Jenny and Sumit were footing the entire bill for all of them. If that isn't enough to make your blood pressure rise, now she learns she's not just paying for everyone's rent, she's also stuck shouldering secret debts she never agreed to. You can almost hear the collective gasp from everyone watching at home. People spend years waiting for an apology that never comes. Jenny doesn't even get a warning, just a bomb in the form of a 5-figure number followed by a nervous, half-sincere sorry. This isn't just money. This is trust unraveling in real time, and it's not even the first time they've been through this circus. The group session suddenly feels less like therapy and more like a live trial, Jenny forced to plead her sanity as Sumit's credibility goes up in smoke. You ever wonder how far love can be stretched before it snaps? No one signs up for this many red flags. Right now, Jenny looks like she's aged a decade in a single minute, reliving every moment she chose to forgive, every time Sumit promised no more secrets. Now, with everyone watching, she's cornered by a future that makes even less sense than before. You know there's more drama simmering just out of sight, because this bombshell is only the appetizer, and Jenny is about to show the whole group what heartbreak with a side of rage looks like. Jenny's face barely moves after Sumit's confession, but inside, every belief she ever held about their relationship starts to slip. Secret loans don't land out of the blue. They stack up, one compromise after another, a late-night decision that was never shared, a hope that nobody would notice the cash gone until it was already spent. In this moment, Jenny doesn't just see numbers. She sees years of sacrifice, patience, and second chances tumbling down like dominoes. Where do you go when you start to wonder if the person next to you is more stranger than soulmate? Sumit tries to explain, talking up responsibility like it's a badge of honor, but the words barely land. Did he really have no other choice? Or did he choose the path of least resistance, again, because it was easier to lie than admit failure to Jenny or his family? The pressure is real. Everyone knows in some parts of the world, family doesn't just mean a warm dinner and a holiday phone call. It means running a marathon without ever dropping the torch, even when your pockets are empty. But the math doesn't lie. Sumit made a big choice without his partner, and now Jenny must live with the fallout. Behind the financial chaos spins an invisible web of expectations. Sumit's parents, never shy about pushing tradition, must have had their say, if not outright, then through quiet stares and heaping silence. Jenny's left to play house guest, caretaker, and reluctant financier, yet the loyalty she's given gets paid back in secrets. If you ever wondered what it feels like to be in a relationship where your sacrifices outnumber your joys, Jenny's living that question now in real time. What would you do if the person you love blindsided you? Not just with a lie, but with a debt that follows you everywhere. It's hard not to picture yourself there, holding invisible receipts for years spent trusting, only to find more bills due on your sanity. Trust gets chipped away with each omission. First it was the parents, now it's an account in the red. Jenny must ask herself if what she's holding onto is love, or simply the memory of what love used to be. Sumit's logic folds under even light pressure. He claims he acted out of desperation, protecting Jenny from stress, but is that kindness? Or is it control dressed up as concern? The truth always finds a way out, and now there's nowhere for it to hide. Even as Jenny's trust in him wobbles, her self-esteem quietly slips. Every time she's been shut out of the big choices, her voice grows smaller. Is she here because of devotion, or does habit pull her along a little more with each heartbreak? Those watching from home can see it, a person cornered by duty, drowning in expectations, and yet expected to smile through the pain. Family comes first, yes, but does that mean Jenny's needs should always come last? If you were sitting in that circle, would you accept another apology? Or would you finally say enough and walk away for good? Right as the group tries to catch its breath, Jenny peels back one more layer. She's speaking up now, challenging him, demanding real answers. The room falls silent again when she quietly reveals she suspected things weren't right weeks ago. There's another secret in the mix. Lurking in the overdraft lines, Sumit's been using her name on some loans without telling her first. Now the trust isn't just broken, it's collateral. The temperature keeps rising, but Jenny's glare is colder than ever, and nothing about this betrayal is finished yet. Sumit's confession isn't a one-man show. When Jenny's anxiety spikes, every viewer can feel the heavy presence of Sumit's parents lurking behind the scenes, even when they're not in the shot. This story never really belonged to only Sumit and Jenny. It's a whole family web, more power struggle than partnership, and the center always seems to be Sumit's duty to his parents, and whatever that duty costs Jenny. You can almost picture Sadhna, Sumit's mother, reacting in silence, eyebrows raised, ready with a sigh that speaks louder than words. Sumit's dad pretends to stay out of it, but it's clear the money trouble wasn't an isolated thing. For so long, living under their roof was supposed to be a temporary fix. Jenny, always hoping for peace, kept convincing herself this was going to get easier. Instead, the home kept closing in on her, tighter every month, until the rent wasn't the only thing overdue. Sumit grew up learning it wasn't just his choice. Caring for parents is the golden rule, especially for many Desi families, and financial support becomes almost automatic. For parents, it's not seen as asking for help. It's their right. The family name must be protected. If you're watching from a distance, you see how filial expectations sometimes crush personal boundaries, especially in multi-generational households. Even when Sumit wanted a life of his own, the old roots kept pulling him back. But Jenny's not from that world, not with those rules. She didn't sign up to be the family's emergency ATM, or to have her marriage judged by people who never wanted her in the picture. She's tolerated icy breakfasts, cold shoulders, and impossible standards, all to keep peace for a husband who never really drew the line between us and them. How long do you let yourself be a guest in your own life before you change the locks? That's not an easy question to ask, and you can feel the tension every time Jenny goes silent after another blow from inside the family. If you scroll through the timeline after the episode aired, you see Twitter in flames, Instagram stories crowding with memes, Facebook aunties debating if Jenny's the martyr or the fool. One meme flashes a picture of Jenny side-eyeing Sumit, captioned, "When you realize you married the whole family, not just the guy." Another shows a calculator with too many zeros, Jenny's shocked face pressed into the corner. The hashtags take off. Justice for Jenny, Sumit's secrets, and maybe a few she deserves better. But fan outrage isn't the only voice. On the other side, a swirl of keyboard generational wisdom chimes in. Some viewers argue, well, in our culture, taking care of parents is simply the rule, no discussion. A few even defend Sumit, saying he's a man caught between two worlds, expecting Western independence from his wife and Eastern obligation from his parents. Yet, the majority asks an honest question: where's the line when tradition becomes excuse and when protection turns into manipulation? Jenny's supporters outnumber the holdouts. So many comments call out Sumit's pattern. Apologies only ever come out after getting caught, not out of genuine regret. There's irritation, sadness, and a little rage. Would you stay or walk away if your partner did this to you? Over and over? Feels less rhetorical and more like a permission slip for every viewer who's ever sponsored a second chance with their own happiness. And then there are the practical questions. Why didn't Sumit get another job? Why put everything on credit secretly, then expect forgiveness like it's supposed to be automatic? In so many cultures, especially for immigrant families and their kids, mixing old-school family obligations with modern partnership is a pressure cooker. Generational loyalty is real, but so is exhaustion. People want to respect their parents, but isn't respect for your spouse part of the deal too? Who gets left holding the debt when it all falls apart? Some fans, always quick with the social media receipts, point out that Sumit and Jenny's income was never secret. Previous seasons' watchers remember how Jenny's savings got drained by a string of broken promises. He spent tens of thousands on investments, and each time it was spun as, "I was only trying to secure our future." The internet never forgets. Old clips resurface, where Sumit swore there would be no more secrets. Now, those words taste sour in the repeat. Still, the cultural difference argument comes up every episode, as if that could justify anything. It's hard for anyone outside the circle to sort out duty from guilt, but putting loan documents in your spouse's name without asking hits the same way in every language. Even when you try to see through Sumit's eyes, there's only so far you can stretch an excuse before the rope snaps. Self-preservation is human, but unspoken choices add up, especially when there's money, trust, and pride all lodged in the same bruise. As the online storm keeps roaring, every viewer wonders how they would survive a truth like this. Some call Jenny strong, some call her naive, but no one calls this romantic. The pain is real, but so is the stubbornness. Every time someone whispers, she should leave, another wonders if they'd have the strength to risk being alone after so many years invested. Is being right worth the loneliness that follows? It's not a simple answer. Nobody watching from the comfort of their couch has to live with the fallout. Privately, though, more than a few people start thinking back to the secrets in their own relationships. Family drama isn't new to this couple. Jenny's always fought for legitimacy, first as a partner, now as an honorary in-law, in a system rigged to make her prove herself from day one. The question is bigger now. How does anyone build trust when the past never stays buried, and every layer uncovered comes with a new, "I'm sorry," clinging to it? If the roles were reversed, would Sumit stick it out? Would the family still be so quiet if Jenny was the one hiding a fistful of IOUs? With love, money, and old-fashioned expectations all at odds, things look grim. But right when you think it's another episode with another round of fighting, another twist gets teased. Someone just hinted there's an even bigger secret waiting to come out, the kind that could turn loyalty into a full-blown rebellion. Jenny's voice drops, her patience worn thin. She's about to press for an answer Sumit can't squirm out of. Is this the moment the pressure blows the lid off everything, or will the family pull her back into their web? What if the next lie is the one that finally cuts them apart for good? Imagine the weight Jenny carries after all the betrayal and embarrassment, forced to sleep night after night in a home where the walls feel more like surveillance cameras than shelter. You see her sit on the edge of a cot, staring at nothing, stuck between leaving and surviving one more day for the man she thought would stand by her. There isn't any rest, even with her eyes closed. Her body aches, her mind churns, and one phrase keeps echoing: how much longer can anyone live like this? Every time Jenny thinks she has found a tiny piece of her own space, it's pulled away. She doesn't have four walls and a sanctuary. She gets a tent on the night of the confession, stuck so close to Sumit and the group that it's impossible to hide. Privacy is a luxury nobody ever promised her, but this is a whole new kind of loneliness, as if you could be marooned even with family only feet away. The feeling is relentless, suffocating stress in her mind and her chest, nothing to soften it except sheer force of will. Sumit, though, acts like he's the one being cornered. He repeats that he's only under pressure. The world keeps asking him to take responsibility, but he sinks into old habits instead, dodging the worst of it, saying the words but not wearing the truth. Anyone watching can see it's a cycle he can't break, or won't try to. Each secret follows the same recipe. Hide the truth, stall, and only fess up when the lies begin to rot. He's sorry for getting caught, and says he loves Jenny, but the love looks less like protection and more like guilt keeping him from leaving. This pattern goes back years. The lies about divorce, about jobs, about money stashed or lost. The hurt is cumulative, and Jenny has cataloged every single one. It's not easy to witness this kind of unraveling. Whatever piece Jenny found is gone, replaced by uncertainty so sharp it gives her a headache. Her health is already fragile, compounded by the constant anxiety and the edges of depression pushing in. She doesn't want to be seen as weak or helpless, but the truth is even survivors wear thin if they're always the one cleaning up after other people's messes. You can feel the audience at home getting frustrated for her, hearts breaking alongside her confusion. But empathy isn't a full pardon, not for anyone in this drama. True, Sumit grew up in a house with rules that said loyalty first, even if it meant swallowing your own needs. On some level, Jenny gets it. She's walked into his world and tried to respect his bonds. But where's the line between respect and losing yourself? There's compassion for a man squeezed on both sides, but there's also a limit. Nobody gets to use tradition as a shield forever. Eventually, the damage is done, and no excuse feels good enough. Both of them, if you look close, are drowning in decades of expectation. Jenny hoped love would buy forgiveness, maybe even patience. Sumit banked on forgiveness, lasting longer than the next secret. The cycle is exhausting from the outside, alarm bells for anyone who's ever stayed too long, hoping the next apology would be the last. You can hear viewers everywhere asking if the comfort of sameness is worth this high a cost. Tough love seeps in because at some point, kindness becomes enabling. Jenny's used up almost all her patience. Now, she questions if the man she defended, time and time again, cares about her, or just fears being alone. Is this the real Sumit, or a version shaped by everyone else's expectations? Even if there's love left, can it really make up for another round of secrecy and suffering? The clock is ticking, and the apologies start to sound like reruns. There's a look in Jenny's eyes, a flicker of exhaustion mixed with something fierce she hasn't let out yet. Everyone watching wants to know if this is when things finally break. The whole group seems to sense it, too, giving her space but secretly bracing for fireworks. Is this going to be the moment, after so many close calls, when Jenny stands up, storms out, and puts herself first? Or will old habits keep her locked in place, hoping against hope for a miracle that never arrives? Either way, you feel the story shifting under your feet, the build-up to a decision you can't take back. Jenny barely finds the strength to face Sumit after another sleepless night. What used to feel like partnership is now a battlefield of whispered lies and unsaid resentments. She looks at the man who made so many promises, wondering if she recognizes him anymore. The group is silent, almost holding its breath. Even the therapist seems unsure how to break the ice. Tension fills the air, sharp and constant, as Jenny finally asks the question burning on everyone's mind. Can you promise this is really the last secret? Sumit's answer, slow and shaky, tells the whole story. It's the kind of pause that reveals everything. He wants to, but neither of them believes it. You can sense outrage simmering under Jenny's calm, her body sitting still while her spirit wants to run. It's a surreal mix of anger and heartbreak, each moment stretching longer as she recaps in her mind every blind leap of faith, Every time, she let hope override her instincts. The room waits for her to explode, but it's not loud. It's quieter, more dangerous, a breaking point that doesn't need shouting. Pain taught her silence as much as survival. She holds his gaze without blinking, forcing Sumit to see every cost his choices have piled on top of her. Sumit tries to pull her close, offering explanations that feel old even as he says them. The love in his voice is hard to doubt, and yet trust never needed a bigger repair job. Jenny doesn't soften. She tells him that loving someone means being honest, not protecting them from the truth or hiding mistakes behind family walls. Sumit stares at the ground. For once, no excuse seems big enough to cover the hole he's dug. He wants forgiveness, but keeps tripping on his old habits like they're reflexes. Memories flicker for Jenny. All the sacrifices, leaving her country, facing his parents' scorn, putting up with cramped rooms and cold glances, were supposed to mean something. No one ever warned her how lonely it feels to fight for two when the other person keeps changing the rules. Even the friends who cheered her on start to doubt if this fairy tale can recover. Years built this relationship, but now, trust comes in deficit and every apology is an IOU that might never get paid. Fear tiptoes into every plan. Jenny thinks about her health, each night of insomnia, every anxious morning. She counts what's left of her savings, worries about a future where she carries someone else's debt, both financially and emotionally. The camera lingers on her face, searching for relief. In the quiet spaces between their sentences, you realize the marriage is no longer about a house or in-laws or finances. It's about whether two people can survive together after forgiveness becomes a habit instead of a choice. Sumit wants her to move on, to forget this round and start over. But Jenny has started tallying up all the times she looked away from red flags. Every instance, she made herself small to keep the peace. Her anger isn't the wild, firework kind people expect. It's the exhaustion of carrying someone else's mistakes day after day until her own needs evaporate. She stands, her voice steady. She tells him in front of everyone that she can't keep competing with his parents, or his secrets, or the pressure to play along. She deserves more than another empty promise. The words resonate through the group, bouncing from face to face. The other couples exchange glances. They've all got their own secrets, but Jenny's honesty makes them question their own limits. If she can finally speak up, what are they avoiding? The therapist waits, hoping someone else will break through next. For viewers, the heartbreak is sharp, but the hope is stubborn. Social media erupts. Is this it? Is Jenny done for real? Or will the old cycle start again? It's impossible not to root for her to put herself first. But the shadows in the story suggest more trouble lurking. At the final moment, before the credits roll, Jenny catches a fragment of another side conversation. Something about a payment Sumit still isn't admitting to, a debt linked to a different name, another doorway to secrets waiting on the other side. Her jaw tightens. She isn't angry anymore. She's focused, scanning every word, every gesture. Sumit thinks he's out of bombs, but Jenny senses one more lurking. The group feels it too. This isn't just another episode. Someone is about to set their own terms, whether it means forgiveness, distance, or something more dramatic. Every viewer sits up, waiting for what comes next. In the days ahead, Jenny will have to decide if love can survive when respect is missing. Sumit must confront the difference between loyalty and honesty, whether he's willing to build trust or only patch up cracks. Their next move could change the whole family dynamic or leave everyone back at square one, fences mended with tape and denial for one more night. But as the screen fades, nothing is certain except this. The cycle has to break somewhere. Jenny's strength is no longer hidden. It pulses in every decision she faces. The family's pressure, the unpaid bills, the old wounds, none of them matter as much as the choice she holds now. This is the fork in the road that viewers will remember. Some secrets always float up to the surface. Some couples never reach a happy ending. But as Jenny and Sumit stand on that chilly threshold, every sign says the story is far from over. New truths are coming, hidden debts, old grudges, and maybe enough honesty to finally change everything. If you thought this episode was explosive, Wait until you see what breaks loose when the next round of lies finally comes to light.